What's going on, everyone? I'm Steve from Burke Family 54 Comics, and I'm here to talk about the recent CGC Bend Gate as it relates to my comic books in my collection that were personally affected in the last week. Before we do that, though, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and tell your friends, and consider joining the channel as well. So I first learned about Bend Gate, the the whole situation a couple months ago, maybe not a couple months ago, maybe like a month and a half ago, from a YouTube channel called Make Room Collectibles. I actually recently refound that video. A guy submitted a bunch of books to CGC. They all came back with the banana in the book, in the case, where it was basically higher on the tops and bottoms than it was in the middle, causing the crease in the book. It was basically warped inside of the case, and he submitted it back to CGC, and they were sent back to him basically the same way, saying it was within tolerance. They may have re-slabbed a few of them, I can't remember, but basically it did not look good from CGC's like standpoint. He was pretty upset, the guy was, and I didn't really think much of it. Honestly, I just thought he was kind of unlucky, and I didn't really think it would happen to anyone else. I'd really forgotten about it. And even though I actually watched the Automatic Comics video on it as well, where he basically defended CGC, where he just said that like a lot of your books in your boxes are going to be bent or not straight as well, and if you take it out of that warped CGC inner well, it'll go back to straight. So he really defended CGC. I don't know why, but maybe he has better insight to it than me. I submitted 5 books to CGC about a month ago. Actually, I filled out the paperwork like a month ago, but then I submitted it to my presser, comicbook_pressing on Instagram. I want to get some of those books pressed out looking good before they were graded. And I remember what they look like. They look pretty good. They definitely didn't have the creases that were in them and the bends are in them that I'm going to show off here in a little bit. I got a bunch of 9/8. I remember looking at the grades whenever it came up on the website, because I'm one of those people that likes to look like a couple times a day to make sure that my stuff is being graded, all of that stuff. And I got some 9.8s, and I was pretty happy with it. And I remember getting the books back, and I already knew the grades. I was happy for the most part. There was 1 or 2 books that I was like, that kind of stinks. But I remember being pretty happy overall, even though my first Spider-Gwen 9.8 did have a chip that's inside of the case. It's not on the outside, it's on the inside. That's not the first time something like that has happened to me. I remember I got a whole slew of books that were like scuffed on the outside, and then I had my TMNT #1 on the inner well. It was sliding around, and that could have damaged it, and I was able to submit those books back to CGC. They've always taken care of me, which has been phenomenal. I know it's not been that case for everyone, but for me it feels like I've always gotten a fair shake when it comes to CGC. I didn't really notice the issues with my books during that unboxing. That's on me for not noticing that. I don't know if it's because I'm in a corner here and I got the light in front of me and I just couldn't see it from that angle. But I do remember when I was editing the video, or when I went to edit it and take some of the photos, I put my first Spider-Gwen next to my Ultimate Fallout 4, because they're kind of books that should be paired together. And that's when I noticed the bend in the book. And I was like, that looks bad. And I was not happy with it. So I actually had to take both of those books out to the living room and take a photo from up top, because you really can't tell from up top. And if you actually look at the scans, you can't tell as well. You just have to look at it from the left side with the light on it, and you can tell there's creases on my first Spider-Gwen book. There's creases on my Flash 92, First Impulse. There's creases on my Superman Man of Steel 18, First Doomsday, which really stinks because there was 5 books that came back. 3 of them were 9.8s, 2 were 9.6s, and the only books affected by the warped inner well were all of the 9.8s. And that really sucks. I did get that first Spider-Gwen as a giveaway win, and I only paid for the pressing and the grading. And I really didn't think it would come back as a 9.8. I was very happy it did. And I hope it stays that way, and we'll talk about that more later. So I was pretty happy with the grades. I was not happy with the presentation, because when you get books in CGC slabs, it's all about how they look, right? It's all about how they present. And I put them on the wall, and I was not happy. Now, I created the video, I edited it, I put it out early for my channel members, and before I posted it to everyone, I put into my chat about how I noticed these creases. Actually, so I put it out Tuesday night for the channel members, and then on Wednesday morning, I reached out to my Burke Fam channel members on Instagram about it, and basically, they didn't really say much. One of my friends was like, you know, it's definitely not still a 9.8. Just be happy that it was graded that way. Just move on. I didn't want to move on though. I was not happy with it. Like, no one wants their 9.8 to have that crease on the side, right? And for that to happen to all three, I was not happy with. In fact, I really only noticed it at first on the Spider-Gwen and the Flash book. I didn't realize it was on the Superman book until like a day or two later. I messaged another friend of mine, and I was like, man, am I being crazy about this? And he basically told me, like, he's a really good friend of mine. I'm not going to say who. He basically said it looks bad of me to complain about that, because considering I got that book for free and anyone would love to be in a position that I'm in. And I get that, but that's not what I was going for. I was just like, has anyone else seen this? Like, I didn't really, like, I didn't even think about that video that I had watched like a month and a half ago. And I was just kind of frustrated with it. Ultimately, I decided not to re-edit it before I uploaded it for the world to see. So that's why in that video, I did not talk about it. Again, that's my fault for not noticing the issues when I first unboxed it. It wasn't until I tried to take photos of it where I noticed it on the side. And I also like honestly felt bad that I'd even complained about it, considering I had people telling me to just move on. So I didn't really think much of it after that. But I went onto the CGC boards, which is something that I had joined just within the last month or two, because I noticed that there was like an Ask CGC portion on their chat boards, and I was going to go on there and ask, you know, is this normal? Maybe I'm just being crazy about it. But before I could even get there, I noticed there was a thread titled, like, is anyone getting back warped inner wells on our CGC slabs? And I clicked on that, and it was like 40 pages long, going back to May. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I talked about my stuff. I uploaded some photos on there. My page name is BurkeFam54, as it relates to here, Burke Family 54 Comics here on YouTube and on Instagram. And everyone's like, this is crazy. And I even asked the guy on there, the admin, CGC Mike, is this normal? Is this something I should be worried about? Is this acceptable? And because I honestly did not know. And he said to email their service team about it, which I did about a day or two later. And I didn't really know, like at the time I was like, do I really, like at that point I was still thinking maybe I'm making too much of a big deal about it. Even though there was that thread as well, which made me rethink that. And then I saw the 9.9 newsstands post on Instagram, which if anyone knows who that is, he along with West Coast Dave Venger were the team that told us about what happened with that reholder gate, where a guy was taking 9.8s out, putting in a different book, submitting that back for a reholder, and getting basically two 9.8s out of a 9.8, maybe a 9.0. And there was like 300 books that it happened to. So those were the people that like really knew about it. And he put on a story about how basically, yes, it's happening. Books are coming back warped in these inner wells. So if you are considering having your books graded, now is not the best time to submit your books to CGC. And I'm like, well, that's a couple weeks too late. I messaged him and I showed him my photos. And he's like, dude, that stinks. And then, so that was Thursday of last week. And then on Friday, I saw, this was sent to me by my friend Mark from Legion of Comics, a post from the Palm Beach Presser's Instagram, where he showed off all these books that had been damaged or bent or whatever from the warped inner wells. And I was like, whoa, like this is, that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me to be like, okay, like I'm not being crazy about this. Like my book should not look like this. And I talked to him and we decided to set up a live stream. And that is when on Friday that I ultimately posted some of my photos that you guys saw here in the video of my books that are not looking the best. They should be flat in those cases, right? Like they shouldn't have these issues. And we ultimately went live on Saturday to talk about it. And I showed off my books, I showed off his, and then he went live later in the day. And this is probably the thing that caused like like a bigger deal. Like MJ Comics and him, and the 9.9 newsstand talked about it for like an hour or two. And that got like a couple thousand views. And I think that's what caused like CGC to say, okay, we need to do something about this. And also because that was mentioned on Swaggle House's video as well. They got a bunch of thousands of views as well. And he actually got a quote from CGC in that video. I don't know how. I guess he knows someone. And then CGC Mike on the chat boards put out a new quotes. It is either today, which is Tuesday, or Monday about it. And during this, go back like a day or two, over the weekend, maybe it was Friday night, that's when I submitted my my email to the service team at CGC. I got an email back today. I don't want to say the worker's name or anything, or I'm sure it's blocked out, or I don't even know if I put a photo up of it, but basically that they had the team look at my photos, and they would like me to submit my books back to CGC for further inspection with a attention Matt N, which to me sounds like Matt Nelson, like the head grader, the main guy at CGC, but there could be a different Matt N, you know, could be something else. Who knows? You know what I mean? I don't know how many Matt N's work at CGC. Can't be a lot. It cannot be a lot. And so that brings me really to like where we're at right now. I have packed up my books. I'm hoping to submit them off tomorrow, which should be the same day this video comes out, Wednesday. Should either go out in the mail Wednesday or Thursday. I'm a little worried about what they're going to say. I hope they do the right thing. They've always done the right thing in the past. I'm just hoping that they take them out and they put them in new holders for me that are not warped, send them back to me in the same grades, and we're all good. Like that's my hope. And I hope they even go a step further and be like, yo, I'm sorry for your inconvenience. Here is X amount in credit towards your account for future submissions. But I'm like kind of worried that they're gonna be like, you know, nothing's wrong here. Here's these books back, or here, let's regrade these and lower grades, even though they're 9.8s. And I've always felt like the issue with these warped inner wells were happening in the encapsulation stage. So I'm really hoping that they didn't mess up the book and have it be a lower grade. But I know they've done the right thing in the past for me, as my flag falls, and also for other people as well. I think they actually got a brand new 9.6 copy of ASM 300 for Sticky Goose Comics. And I've done a bunch of other things as well, including that 300 book list for all those books on the Reholder Gate list. They've always typically done the right thing. So I'm hoping they do the right thing with me. But like I said, I'm pretty worried about this whole thing. I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. I'll keep you guys updated. But I felt like I felt like it was good for me to make a video about everything from the beginning until now as it relates to my books being personally affected by CGC's warped inner well bend gates. And so that's everything I have. I'm going to submit this video link as well to the CGC service team. They can take a look at it. I'm going to give them my phone number as well, which they should already have all that on file anyways. Hopefully everything turns out well. I'll make another video whenever they come back. But again, I'm Steve from Burke Family 54 Comics. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about today's video. What do you guys think about the whole CGC bin gate? All that and more. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. And as always, go Cats.
Cowabunga. It's morphin' time.